welcome to another episode of Beyond the Black Rims. I'm Mars Girl.
I'm Josh Knight the First.
This is Season 8, Episode 14.
Or Episode 180 if you're counting.
Thank you, as always, to the Patreon contributors at patreon.com/MarsGirl who make this and all kinds of other stuff we do possible. So, hi everybody. My hair's not pink anymore.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Scoot up a little bit.
Yeah, I'm gonna scoot up. I was wondering the positioning there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
We were too far away from these guys. They
deserve
to see us a little bit closer. Yeah. Life happens, and now my hair is brown again. It went a little darker than I was expecting. Actually.
Yeah, it looks black here.
It's
I assure
not.
you, in light, it looks brown.
Actually, there's this tiny spot right here that's my natural brown, and to me, it sticks out really hard, lighter brown than the rest of this. It just, to me, it looks like it. You can really see
I can't really tell.
Okay, it's just me.
It's just you.
It's just me being self-conscious. So, yay. So that happened. What else is going on, Josh?
We had a terrible time at the movies this week.
Oh, yeah, it was pretty bad, all right.
Yeah, because I'm not afraid to talk about it.
Okay, no, let's talk about it.
Let's talk about this. All right, so the right? No, the Mummy. So, thankfully, Kaylin was nice enough to get us advanced screening tickets to go see The Mummy earlier this week, and it was not fun in the slightest.
The whole experience, not just the movie, mind you, because the movie, for the most part, is getting panned, and you know what, thank you for hosting, John. And for the most part, the panning of the movie
is warranted.
It's warranted. From what we saw, it's pretty warranted. But, like, the rest of the experience, I mean, first of all, you gotta show up 2 to 3 hours early for an advanced screening just to make sure you actually get in. And then, second of all, they sat us down and, like, where's that bag? It's way over there. It's full of just mummy crap. I want a bag.
You know what? Go get it. Go get it.
You want me to go get it?
Yeah, we're gonna do it. We're telling this story.
I want this bag full of mummy crap.
So we're waiting there for the movie to start. Her name gets called out of a raffle. Yeah, see, this proves we were there. And they give us all this crap. I don't know how much of the crap you have in there.
Oh, okay, so I've got this mummy water bottle. Oh boy. I'm gonna be so proud of this to carry this around.
What do you got in the bottle?
So, in the bottle, well, okay, first you gotta mention the 3D glasses.
Okay, so this is a 3D showing that we end up going to. Now, we've mentioned it in passing here on the show. Neither of us really enjoy 3D. I will put up with it. You hate it.
Yeah, hate is such a strong word for 3D.
But
I would far prefer not to go see a 3D movie. Usually it gives me a pretty big headache.
Right. So the movie starts. It's supposed to start at 7. It starts about 10 minutes late, and then when it starts, the 3D glasses aren't working. And these aren't your normal real 3D glasses.
The real D, yeah, the kind of semi-disposable looking ones.
No, these are the thicker. They have a sensor at the front.
Which means that it's got something that it responds to, a signal that it responds to at the movie. And so either the film or the projector was not working because there was no 3D going on.
There was no 3D. Everything was overlaid, blurry, and in green tinted.
And everybody's pissed off.
And boo! Boo! So they have to stop the movie about 5 minutes in, and then they restart it about 3 times. And they still can't get it to work. It took them a full hour before we actually got to see it in 2D. And so that was frustrating in and of itself.
To make us not be nearly as angry, they started handing out these lovely posters of Tom Cruise. So,
yeah, like we didn't initially have this. This was to shut us up for booing that they couldn't get the movie to start.
So, oh boy, a poster of Tom Cruise, and here's like a little mummy notebook, and there's like a pen in here, and this really bizarre light.
It's actually that's a really powerful little flashlight. That's the only
in fact,
cool thing.
like it's really freaking out the green screen right now. Look at that.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
That's nuts. That's wild. So, oh boy, a whole bunch of mummy garbage. Oh, and 2 mummy keychains. A bunch of mummy garbage for a garbage mummy movie.
Yeah, so this movie is bad. Especially because of the fact that we just got off Wonder Woman. We just got done with, unfortunately, just, visual timing, the attacks there in London. The fact that that's what you're looking at is all these people running away from damage being caused around there. It really didn't sit well with us in particular. The script is garbage. You can tell that 6 people worked on it. It starts off trying to be a mummy movie and then very quickly becomes The Mummy dawn of Dark Universe.
Oh yeah, they forgot it was a Mummy film, and then they went straight into, no, this is the launching of the Dark Universe franchise, and it's so disassociated. It's so weird.
Yeah.
So that's really all we should say, I guess.
Yeah, if you want to know more information, I have no problem spoiling this movie. My apologies if you were looking forward to it. Save your money.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
yeah,
is there
so
anything else?
That was our Tuesday.
Was there anything else that we wanted to talk about before we brought up the actual stuff in the show?
I don't know. I've just been fuming from that since Tuesday.
Yeah, that's very true.
That's very true.
Yeah. So, just a bunch of stupid Mummy stuff. That wasn't even a good movie. Okay.
At least we didn't pay money for it.
Very true, but that hour that we can't get back, that we wasted sitting there waiting for them to fix it, that I wish we could have gotten refunded somehow. Was an hour of our time.
For those people asking here in the chat on the side, compared to Tomb of the Dragon Emperor, which admittedly is trash, it's about equal, if not worse. Mm-hmm. And I say that knowing full well because I saw the original trilogy of those Mummy movies. No, it's as bad, if not worse. Definitely dumber.
In a lot of ways, yeah.
In a lot of ways.
Okay.
So yeah, that's the last tool. We'll go ahead and warn you guys about that. But we'll go ahead and talk to you about what we've got to talk about on tonight's show.
Yes. So we're going to be starting off talking about Wonder Woman a little bit later on in the show. Not like reviewing it or anything. Not the way we just went off on the Mummy. But more like how it's been received. In the United States, around the world, how people of different groups are receiving it, because I feel like this is a movie that is very well needed right about now.
Yes.
So, yeah, I'm excited to talk about it.
Yes, our second story for the evening, news just came out today about Super Nintendo World. So we talked to you guys about this potential Mario-themed park that was going to happen over in Universal Studios. Well, now we've actually got footage. Now we've actually got a good idea of what this is going to look like. So we're going to talk to you guys about the attractions there and what to expect.
And then finally, so this is actually real and actually happening. Cowboy Bebop will be live action, but it's going to be a TV series, so I don't know how to feel about that. We're going to work through our feelings, really, is what this is going to be.
I am scared.
Yeah,
I'm going to start
I'm very nervous.
Fear.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, very nervous about it. But we'll talk about just how nervous we are about it a little bit later. Until then, I'm sure you've got some follow-ups for us.
I've got follow-ups, so
please tell me about them.
Let's get into it. Full-blown Justice League, get it up there. And actually, that's accurate, because... yeah, they are graphic there for full-blown Justice League. But, of course, our top story are the toys for full-blown Justice League, which were just revealed today. They should be hitting just here in the third quarter of the year. Of course, they've got the main 6 members of the Justice League. Yes, Superman is still part of it, apparently. The funny thing about it is that you can really tell how much attention they're paying to detail for certain characters. Like, for example, the... Superman and the Batman are the same molds as we got for Batman vs. Superman.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly the same.
They're lazy.
The Wonder Woman, and I don't know if you can blow that up at all.
Why do you always do that?
Well, because I need people to see this. The Wonder Woman has been super overhauled. I think people figured out, because now her hair is all flowing and nice, and she can pose more. And the Jason Momoa figure there as Aquaman is way more detailed than it was before. So I think they're kind of marketing themselves toward the people who would want to see those movies instead.
Yeah, because maybe they realized that their last couple of movies weren't so great.
And that goes into our next bit of news, again, dealing with Justice League. We've got new reports of reshoots.
For what?
For Justice League? Another round of extensive reshoots.
That's not good.
No, that's not good. Now, this news just came out after this weekend, so it seems that they might have known they were potentially going to do this in response to how people took Wonder Woman. My guess is that they had at least 2 plans on the table, depending on how it was going to go. If Wonder Woman did bad, then it's like, well, we'll kind of ride on what we've got and hope that that works. If Wonder Woman does well, crap, we can't sell them what we were going to sell them before. We have to reshoot. Come on, come on.
Yeah,
that would mark 4 reported times.
Fingers,
4
Josh.
fingers, yeah, got caught. 4 reported times that the movie has been reshot over the last 2 years.
That's ridiculous, and I'm afraid.
I am very afraid, yes. Which is in stark contrast to how we feel about Wonder Woman, but we'll get into that later on.
Yes.
Okay, moving on down the line to Batman specifically. So, actor Josh Gad, who you might have seen most recently in the live-action Beauty and the Beast, of course, most famously known for the Frozen movie, he has been taunting this idea that potentially maybe he could be the Penguin. And now, it started with a manipped picture that was put on the internet, like most other rumors do, but now it seems that he's actually been down to DC Comics to have a meeting.
Oh no.
And once that starts, usually that's a pretty high indication that something might be in the works.
Okay,
now,
I'll believe it for now.
Now, would he be a good Penguin? I don't know. His LeFou was all right. You know, I
think he could pull it off. I think he's a decent enough actor.
Yeah, it just depends on the kind of Penguin that they're going to portray. It's not that I don't like the Penguin on Gotham. I just don't like Gotham.
I don't like the Penguin on Gotham. That's all I gotta say, yeah.
So yeah, there's that. Let's go ahead and chew on that for a little bit. Okay, so let's go ahead and move over to our Marvel news. So, as far as Spider-Man Homecoming, tickets are now on sale.
Yeah!
We just got ours. We'll be seeing a Saturday showing, because, you know, we gotta make room for the rest of life.
Life.
Sucks.
That and never wanting to ruin the show.
Yeah, we want to be here for you guys, and we respectfully understand if you're going to go get tickets now that you know they're there. So yes, go to check out your local theater, see if you can get those, because they will go quick. Okay, moving on to Infinity War. There was a funny little video going around off of Facebook of Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah,
I caught it that time.
Yeah, fix that L.
Playing with these thin figures that they have of all the toys, showing of what he thinks is going to happen there in Infinity War, and he just pulls Mjolnir out of nowhere and just starts smashing all the figures together, except Hulk, because he's cool with him now.
Well, that's nice.
And along with that, Chadwick Boseman has shown he is on set as well, putting out a little picture of him there. Really his chair. We haven't seen him, but it's his chair next to Steve and Natasha.
Yeah, I did see that.
So filming is in deep right now.
Oh, good.
We're hoping to see something. Maybe later on this summer, but right now we know that they're all hard at work, hoping to give us a really good movie.
I hope so.
Okay, moving on to some other news for the future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So it seems that James Gunn, the director of both volumes of Guardians of the Galaxy, has been tapped to oversee the future of Marvel's Phase 3.
The whole thing?
Yes. So he's going to be the guy looking over that, much like Joss Whedon was looking over things before, the same way Zack Snyder, up to a point, looks over the DC extended universe. I trust that decision based off how much emotion was there in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I'm looking forward to seeing where they go with it, especially since this is supposed to be the quote-unquote cosmic portion of the Marvel universe.
Well, and how much of that is going to tie into this new Thor movie, because I feel like it's got really a large Guardians of the Galaxy overtones along in it.
Yes, I would agree with that. So that's probably the wise decision.
Yes.
So I do understand that. Okay, moving on to some Star Wars news. Along with this news, there are reports now that portions of the script for The Last Jedi have been leaked online. So do beware if you do frequent certain news sites or certain...
social media in general.
Social media in general. These things are out there. I did read them.
Why did you do that?
Well, because I just wanted to see if they sounded plausible.
Why do you do that to yourself?
Half of it does not sound plausible. Half of it sounds like somebody made it up.
Okay, well,
don't tell me. Half of it would be like, yeah, I could see them doing that, but the other half was like, no, that doesn't sound realistic. But I'm not going to repeat any of it. No, I'm going to spare you guys that. Just be on the lookout for that. Okay, so moving on to some other news there in sci-fi. So we have this picture here from the detente that was made between the two different Hellboys, between David Harbour and Ron Perlman. Thankfully, notable nerd Patton Oswalt was called in to oversee the truce luncheon between them.
Truce luncheon?
Yes. The idea was they wanted to show there was no bad blood between the two Hellboys, so they had lunch. If anything got out of hand, it was going to be up to Patton to keep them in place.
Okay.
And that actually really incredibly makes me feel better about this project.
I don't know. This tells me that they needed a mediator, which means there might be
but they got a trusty mediator.
No, but no, you don't understand. If there's a problem at all that requires a mediator to begin with, that's a problem.
Yeah, but the thing about it is a lot of fans, much like myself, like we talked about here on the show, were very hesitant about this changeover, and now that they've shown that the two Hellboys have made peace with one another, which they have officially stated, then there's no problem. fans can more easily accept it. And David Harbour fully says that he understands the weight that he's taking on there in the role. He understands that there's a specific journey that he wants to show through that. And again, he specifically cites the fame that he's gotten after Stranger Things as having what got him the role.
Of course. That makes sense.
So this having been done, we can go ahead and put aside some of our fears for now. The old Hellboy has signed off on the new Hellboy. We can at least not worry about that as much.
That's true.
Okay, so I did have some more info on Dark Universe, but we're going to skip it.
Thank you. That sounds good to me.
Okay, so moving on to some other sci-fi news. So Neil Blomkamp, who first came into notoriety with the District 9 movie, has said he is looking into doing a sequel to the movie finally.
To District 9.
To District 9. Now, along with that, he does have this compilation of movies out of a studio he's producing called Oats, which are these very trippy sci-fi kind of mini movies that he's going to be putting out. If you look up the trailer on YouTube, it's some really kind of creepy sci-fi stuff. There's like lizard people enslaving people, like walking skeletons and like bits of membrane, terrorizing people. Dakota Fanning's in it for some reason, but it looks really, really interesting. Which at the least you can say about, you know, Elysium and Chappie, they at least looked interesting.
Yeah, whether or not they pulled it off in the end, see, that's a little bit different.
That is different.
So that's the only part that's concerning to me about a sequel movie, is that follow-ups in that same vein didn't do so hot.
Well, I think he should have just started off with a District 9 sequel and not tried to differ too much.
Maybe so, maybe so.
But that's an argument we can have at another time as to, you know, the best route for that. Moving on to some game news here. So, Final Fantasy 14, they're talking about porting it to the Nintendo Switch. It's going to take some time, they say.
Yeah, I imagine that would take a little bit of development work. I also imagine it would be pretty easy first to take the console build, the PS4 build, but then it would also be possible to maybe implement some touchscreen functionality on the Switch. So that could be really interesting.
Well, yeah, if you're there and you're playing it, you know, with the two
the Joy-Cons
on either side, and you're there in the middle of battle, it wouldn't be too much to, you know, if you're just having to touch the screen for a macro here and there. I would understand that. In that sense, it almost makes it a MOBA feel to it.
Well, I don't know about a MOBA, but it would feel more like actually clicking your hotbar, but just using your fingers directly to do it rather than a mouse. So I think that could be an interesting kind of hybrid between PC version and console controller-based version.
I would want to try it out.
Yeah, sure.
And then also from Final Fantasy, we've gotten the reveal of Final Fantasy Dissidia NT coming out later. We don't know what the NT stands for.
Well, we don't know what friggin' Dissidia or Duodecium 012, like, they just slap stuff, words and numbers onto things. Like, they started getting Kingdom Hearts syndrome over Dissidia, or as I like to call it, Quesadilla.
Yes.
It's just, they're working with Tecmo Koei, which is cool, but it still looks like a regular old Dissidia game. I don't know, Dissidia never really grasped me, because I understand why you would get it for the fan service of seeing all of these major characters all together in one game, but that doesn't really do it for me. I'm not really into media for the fan service of it. I just want it to be good. I want it to be good gameplay, and I want it to be good story, and Quesadilla has never had good story. They ask each other, why are we here? And then the other character will say, you know what? I don't know. That's the story. That's the story of Dissidia.
So yeah, early 2018, PlayStation 4, get with it, or not, you know, it's up to you. Okay, so moving on to some other news with Overwatch. So of course, we still have the event going on right now. This weekend is going to be Double XP Weekend. For those of you who play the game, you'll have that much more of a chance to get the loot boxes that are available now for the game. Along with that, just today, Blizzard announced the new Figma Tracer figure, which is going on pre-sale right now for $70.
This right here, this picture looks like just an in-game render, just about.
Well, yeah, but if you blow it up, you can see all the Figma joints and whatnot.
Yeah.
It looks to be a very decent figure. It's going to be about yay big, like most Figmas are. 70's a little steep for me. I you know, I'm there at about 50, but I understand, you know, this thing is going to sell immediately.
Yes.
People are already putting down money right now, so if you got that scratch, there's a good place to spend it.
Cool.
Yes. Okay, so moving on to our Tokusatsu news. Over with Q Ranger, we've got word now that the ending theme, which we've all, who are watching the show, I should say, have gotten used to and kind of decried, man, why'd y'all get rid of the, They're going to get rid of it. They're going to change the ending theme.
Well, they're going to get rid of the whole song, yeah.
Yeah, so later on this summer, they will be replacing it with a different ending theme. I'm a little disappointed, honestly.
Why is that? Did
well,
you
because
like the song?
I thought it fit in with all of the other, I say with quotes, iconic Super Sentai ending dances, which are a little hokey. But this was one that, I learned very quickly. That having been said, I'm probably going to miss it, but hopefully the next one won't be so bad.
Here's hoping.
Here's hoping. Moving on to Kamen Rider Exade. So there was a press conference earlier this week for the Exade movie entitled True Ending, which will be coming out this August. Here we've got the poster there showing Exade in his new virtual reality gamer form.
Oh man, the virtual reality stuff. So I actually did a write-up on this over on Tokusatsu Network. It just came out yesterday, today, I don't remember.
Yesterday.
Yesterday
or the day before.
They're partnered in this movie. They're legitimately partnered with Sony using PlayStation VR.
Yes.
So in the film, they've developed the Genmu VR.
Which is just a PlayStation VR headset with Exade colors.
With Exade colors, pink and green and white. And so they've got, like, Hiroki Ijima, who plays Emu, the main character, up on stage in his doctor's lab coat. And then this big, hulking piece of plastic for PlayStation VR headset on. He's just standing there. It looks ridiculous.
Yes.
It looks absolutely ridiculous. I thought it was hilarious.
But yes, we've got that to look forward to later on. In conjunction with that, that goes into our next very major announcement. So Toei has officially registered the trademark for this year's Rider. Officially, we will be getting later on this year Kamen Rider Build. Build like building, I assume. So what we have here is what's reported to be the silhouette of what Build will look like.
Some people are arguing he's got a silhouette that looks like a bee's head. They were comparing it to the bee from...
Oh, Zabi from Kabuto,
yes. His name is the Bee. And the silhouette is like... the antennae are identical if cocked just like a hair in one direction or the other. See, for me,
because they're on both sides, but they're not symmetrically thick enough.
That's the reason, though. If you looked at the Bee, they're like tiny fins, tiny antenna fins.
Specifically on masked form, the way it looks here with the two antennae, one being thicker than the other, that actually reminds me more of Chaser. His antennae did the same thing.
Yeah.
Where one side was thicker than the other.
So it is looking like it might actually be a bug again, possibly.
I would love that.
That would be great. I'm trying to decide whether or not these are, in fact, like we were thinking, are these water bottles? Like, what are these? But maybe they're like these interlocking joints. Like Plamo, plastic model?
Yes, that was the other theory that was going around, that it might have to do with model building.
Yeah, because maybe they're not bottles. They totally look like, the Japanese will call them pet bottles. That's what they mean when they say, like, plastic water bottles.
Yeah.
Who knows why they call them pet bottles. But, maybe they're not bottles. Maybe they go, like you click them in together with one another.
Who knows? But what we do know is that we can confirm that Build will be seen first in the Exade movie this summer. So odds are within the next month or so we're going to see what he looks like.
Alright, cool.
Alright, so that's all of our follow-ups for the evening. Let's get into our first story with Wonder Woman.
Yeah, so, I don't know what to say. I'm not showing a trailer or anything, and we're not going to be reviewing the movie, but I do want to talk...
We do have to make some comments about it.
I do want to talk about my feelings, because I totally expected it to be a good movie, alright? That's all I expected was a good superhero movie, the likes of some Marvel properties, and I was like, okay, maybe I gotta temper, my expectations for it just because it's DC, and DC has kind of screwed the pooch a few times.
Right, and I was going in cautiously optimistic. Everything looked positive, but here it is. We're actually going to put wheels to the road here and see what they actually gave us. And I was so glad I was wrong about how this movie was going to be it blew away my expectations.
Yeah, absolutely the same for me too. And I don't know if it's kind of shaming to say, but by the end of the movie, as everything was coming together, like the whole time, it sounds so dumb, but I was holding back tears, and at the end of it, I had to cry. Not because it's the best movie, not because it's the most perfect movie, but because it's a movie I really needed, and I had no idea that I needed this movie until I walked in and I watched it. Because I think that as a woman, you settle for a lot of things, especially like here in America, we got it pretty good in comparison to a lot of other places around the world, but because we have it as good as we do, we then begin to overlook the little things that we aren't as equal on, and that includes things like female hero representation. And what were our female heroes before this? We had Elektra, Catwoman, which is
Black Widow, Scarlet Witch.
Black Widow doesn't even. Yeah, Black Widow and Scarlet Witch don't even get their own movies.
No,
that's the
no,
thing.
they don't.
But here we have a woman who is the lead role. She's not played up for sexual appeal. It's not as if they don't straight up say that she's a beautiful person, but it's not all boobs and butt shots. She's very conscious about justice and what she needs to get done, the job that needs to get done. And
that actually was the selling point for me, and we won't, again, get into it too much, but the part that did it for me was the scene that everybody's referring to as No Man's Land, which is really the turning point of the movie. Patty Jenkins has gone on record as saying one of her biggest influences for this movie was the tone of the Richard Donner Superman movie, the original, and I totally got that.
Yeah.
I totally saw that there, and that's where it clicked for me. Literally, I was holding back tears at that point as well, because I saw what 2 movies worth of Man of Steel and Not Quite Justice League couldn't do, which is I saw an icon.
Yeah.
I didn't see somebody who was rooted in self-loathing, who didn't have a moral compass. She knows who she is throughout the whole movie, and yet she still has an arc. She still grows. And as such, these are just our reactions to her. We're just 2 people of the many people who saw Wonder Woman this weekend. So, starting out Thursday night, $11 million to begin with in preview
That's really
screenings.
good. That's really, really good.
Over the weekend, it went on to blow away everyone's expectations to a whopping $228 million box office. Now, from everything that we're reporting here, DC had an idea that it would win, but they didn't know it would bank.
Yeah.
Now, of course, they are very happy for this, but it's almost like they weren't ready for it. Like they were tempering their own expectations.
Yeah.
Because as such, we're getting reports here that Patty Jenkins, the director, has not yet officially signed on for a sequel. Gal Gadot is contractually obligated to do a Wonder Woman 2, so there's no worry there. But Patty Jenkins, everybody's saying, no, you have to come back. You got it so right.
Yes, of course.
We need you to do this. And as such, you know, a lot of the comments that you're saying, you know, looking over at commercials that they're putting out now, ads on social media, people just on social media are having those same reactions.
Yes.
Saying, I was holding back tears. I needed this movie. This is the movie we need right now. Those kind of comments. And it's across the board, men and women, looking at this movie and being like, wow, this was amazing. Wow, I didn't know representation could look like this. Wow,
yeah,
I didn't know a DC movie could not suck.
Because that's the thing about representation. I hesitate using the word feminism. And the reason why I hesitate using that is because I think the internet latches on and picks the most militant kind of feminism, one that I don't necessarily agree with. Where I come at this from is not wanting to be a woman and therefore be better than what men have. What I want is to be on an equal playing field with the other characters who happen to be men, and this just happens to be a woman, so she's somebody that I more directly identify with, and I feel like this movie did that. This is where I felt like this was one of the first times representation mattered, and it wasn't shoving in, oh, it's girl power. It wasn't even about girl power. It's just she was the person that needed to get the job done.
Right. Because
that was it. That was all I wanted.
Because I'll make the easy comparison, and some might say it's a cheap shot, but no, this is actually I think, perfectly indicative of what we're talking about here. You think back to Batman and Robin. Specifically, the fact that Poison Ivy and Batgirl in that movie are trying to push feminist issues in their portrayal.
Yes, yes.
But it comes across so ham-fisted, and it still manages to serve the men somehow, because as they're saying this, they've got these real tight shots of their butt.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It doesn't sound believable at all, and then they say these lines, and then Batgirl's quickly relegated to being saved.
That's not to say that there are plenty of women who will say, well, we can feel that we can use our sexuality as a form of our own empowerment. I think that's true in some circumstances. I don't think that would have been the correct direction for Wonder Woman. I think this was definitely the correct direction for Wonder Woman.
Well, part of what representation means, and I get that, specifically citing the beginning of the movie with Themyscira, all the scenes there, was the fact that it wasn't just supermodels that were cast. In fact, there were no supermodels cast.
Yeah.
They were athletes. They were police officers. They were women who were physically capable of looking like, oh, you're an Amazon. And then
but they're
on top
all
of that,
wonderful.
But they're all different.
Yeah.
Different sizes, different ethnicities, different structures. And the thing about it is that is encompassing of people being able to look up at that, women being able to look up at the screen and say, yeah, I see somebody
see
that's
somebody
like
who represents who I am.
Yeah, exactly. And the fact that as a character, as something that people could aspire to be, Diana becomes Wonder Woman, even though you could argue that they never say certain things about, the title there. She manages to convey what, and I know I'm coming back on this, Superman or Clark in these last two movies, you never feel he has a real moral center. The chances that you have to give him that, you absolutely squander. Batman, you introduce him, and he's gotten rid of his moral center.
Right.
And he's just killing people wantonly. Diana has grown up learning who she is, learning about who she is while having some stuff kept secret, and that, of course, adds to the movie's plot. But she knows her ideals, and she never wavers from them for a second.
Yeah.
When she talks to other people in the movie, it's about equality. It's not that, I think I'm better than you, so you need to listen to me. It's that
she doesn't even know to say that, because she's so removed from the world where you would have that kind of discrimination.
Yeah, but it's the thing that she doesn't feel that she's any different from anybody else in the room that she's in at that given time. And as such, that's like, there's nothing wrong with that there.
So this makes me wonder and worry
and likes
more.
Ice cream, yes.
And likes ice cream, which is a fantastic throwback to it was Justice League. It was it just Justice League. That was their launch of New 52.
From the launch of New 52, yes. There's a nod to the Jim Lee art there, which they also mentioned in Justice League War, but there's a reference here, and when you see it, you'll know it.
So in any case, this makes me wonder and be farther concerned for the Justice League film that's coming up. As you just mentioned at the top of the hour, they're doing more reshoots. That's horrifying to me. That she has to now be part of something else that is not going to reflect very well.
Now, it's entirely possible that, and a lot of people have been saying this online, that in order for DC to right the ship, to get things back on track, they need to make her the focal point of the DC Extended Universe, and I'm actually all for that now.
Yeah.
Because you could have done it with Batman, but you haven't done it yet. You could have done that with Superman, but you didn't.
I'm gonna go back and bring up the picture of these the toys that you
Yes, the Justice League figures.
Look how she's in the middle.
She's in the middle now. It's entirely possible they could just be reshooting it to make it more her-centric.
Maybe that's it. If that's what it is, then maybe that's a smart idea, because I was real concerned about the directions they were going in before.
Right.
That, and look how Superman himself is way off at the end. Clearly he is the afterthought of the film.
Well, yeah, because at this point you have to admit you screwed up the character.
Yeah, easily.
And when he gets, and we've been saying this, and it's probably going to be true in November, when they finally bring him back in, it's going to feel cheap no matter what they do. Because they're either going to try and explain it away or not talk about it.
Yes.
And either way, they have to try and address, or not address, depending on how stupid they're being, how they failed the character. Get a real arrow on it. You have failed this city. You failed Metropolis. But here in Wonder Woman, there were posts going around, Metropolis has Superman. Gotham has Batman. The world has Wonder Woman. And that's clearly what's being shown here, because people are still going out flocking to see it. You know, despite any number of theaters that were doing the female-only showings, they still showed up.
Oh, yeah.
More, looking at the breakdown of who actually went to this movie, the majority of people going to see this movie, 58% this weekend, were women.
I'm really interested in knowing how they get those numbers, especially if they're like buying multiple tickets on one card, or they pay in cash at the box office.
Well,
I'm curious to know how they get that
much like we saw with our showing, they must have people at some theaters.
There were a lot of women at our theater, though.
Yes.
It's very true, though.
And clearly enough, when we were getting up to leave, I saw people dabbing their eyes.
Yeah.
You know, trying to deal with the emotions that it brought up. See, that's how you know it's not a movie, it's a film. You want to start putting this in the Pantheon? This goes in the Pantheon now with Richard Donner's Superman, The Dark Knight, and now Wonder Woman's in there. Those are your trinity.
Yes.
Those are your trinity of the DC universe. Because in this, you can look at that and you can see how people can watch this and be like, yeah, that. I want to aspire to that.
Yeah.
I want to be like that someday, whether it's, you know, professionally, personally, or just even emotionally. The fact that even though it's shown that Diana cares about people, it's never weakness to her. She is vulnerable in that, yeah, she's naive about the world of man, but it's never weakness. It's always played for strength. It enriches her character. She's funny. She's engaging. And that's what people wanted from these heroes. That's what people wanted from Superman.
Right.
And I'm saying here, as a fan, somebody who wanted to believe in Man of Steel, who wanted to believe in Batman vs. Superman, no. All that belief that you felt was taken from you in those, Wonder Woman will give it back to you.
So, I'm just... It's really weird to say this is the movie that a particular generation needs. I feel like this was the time for this movie to
And
come
this is
out.
the last thing I'll say about it, so we can get moving to the other ones. Comparing the two movies that we just saw, Mummy and Wonder Woman. Mummy, the fact that all the destruction happens there in London leaves a real bad taste in your mouth. End of this one, and it's not really a spoiler, she's there going to their rescue. You know, just kind of an iconic pose there, and it's like, we need that right there.
Well,
because
that and the treatment of one of the lead female characters in The Mummy is just so night and day. This is like the antithesis of what Wonder Woman's portrayal is.
Yeah.
Man, The Mummy is not a very good movie.
But that
all I
having
can
been
be
said,
conceding.
the movie absolutely deserves the praise, deserves the box office. People are responding to it. The studios will have to take notice now. They can't just say, oh, this was a fluke. No. 228 million is not a fluke.
No, not in the slightest.
And we're definitely going to see this weekend how many more people show up. How many people are going to repeat screenings.
People are still going, yeah.
I know people who've already gone to see it 3 or 4 times already.
Me too.
And it's worth it. So yes, definitely something to chew on there. I'm so glad I get to say this. Good job, DC.
Yeah.
Good job, Warner Brothers.
Please do it again.
Do it again.
Because that would be... nobody wants you to fail. Nobody wants that. Just do a good job.
Yeah.
Please. That's all.
Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to our second story with Universal Studios Japan breaking ground on Super Nintendo World.
I think this is really funny that, like, it's Super Nintendo World and yet it doesn't look like it's themed to look like a Super Nintendo. Then again, I guess in Japan they wouldn't know any better because they didn't have the Super Nintendo.
They had the Super Famicom.
The rest of the world, though, had the Super Nintendo. But in any case, so Josh, I'm going to show you because I didn't grab this for the show, but there is a little YouTube trailer for Universal Studios Japan. Now, they are planning on eventually getting it to Universal Studios Hollywood and Orlando, but they don't have a date set. So what we're looking at here, we're seeing like Bowser's Castle in this little 30-second promo, Mario running through pipes, he's jumping around on platforms.
He's getting coins and jumping on
and you can
flagpoles.
You can see tons of buildings that, like, what they're calling this is area image movie. And when they say image, they mean imagination.
Yeah.
They don't mean like a picture. They mean this is what you need to imagine this world is going to look like. So it looks very bright, very colorful. And they had just... 2 days ago, they built a Mario stage
Yes.
where they had Who all did they have there?
Well, they had Mario and Luigi there.
I think it was just...
I thought this was pretty funny that they were mimicking him running there through...
Kicking Goombas, yeah. I like how he feels like he has to run backwards, because he's on the stage where they're like... It's side-scrolling, just the way you would expect Mario to be. So they've got a dude in a giant Mario mascot suit, running and kicking Goombas and jumping, and they're pulling the stage along to look like it's a side-scrolling...
Yeah, so he's like on a treadmill and they're moving the background at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Basically old school movie effects.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
it works for what Mario is. So looking at all of the visuals that they're showing us here for these attractions, it feels just right for what people were hoping this would be. On top of the fact they have confirmed there will be Mario Kart.
Yes.
Real world Mario Kart.
Real world Mario Kart.
Somebody's gonna get hurt.
So Shigeru Miyamoto was also there. Like you see him, and there are 3 other people from Nintendo that are listed in there. In fact, I think you have the information on who else was there.
Yes, it was Universal Studios Japan CEO Jean-Louis Bonnier, Shigeru himself, and then Universal Creative President Mark Woodbury, who also did a little bit of running and jumping and kicking Goombas.
Yes. I think this is interesting that they're definitely planning on getting this out before the Olympics in Tokyo in 2020, which is kind of funny because Osaka and Tokyo kind of aren't the same city.
No, they are not.
They're like 3-4 hours by bullet train apart. So,
yeah.
But maybe you can still make bank off of international tourists who just want to see the rest of the country and go to a theme park. It's also kind of interesting that this is happening around the same time that the Disney theme parks in Japan, Tokyo Disneyland and Disney Sea, are getting some redesigns and new venues and new rides and stuff implemented.
Well, that makes sense when you look at the, I guess you'd call it the global context, because of the fact that, yes, the Olympics are going to be a big push for tourism.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've brought up several times, they're revamping a lot of the signage there around Tokyo proper to read more English, to be more friendly to people visiting from other countries.
Pictographs are supposed to make more sense, so like if you're looking for a Shinto shrine, it's going to look like a Shinto shrine, and it's not just going to have this symbol that if you're not Shinto, you don't know what it is.
Yeah.
So they're really trying to make it a whole lot more tourist friendly.
Now, some people are asking, man, what would it be like to bring your Switch there? I wouldn't bring my Switch. I'd bring my DS though, my 3DS, my
possibly.
2DS.
Well, it could be by the time 2020 rolls around, they might start implementing something more interactive on the Switch, because as it stands right now, the Switch is only so interactive, even though it's totally built to be interactive.
Right.
But in the next 3 years, who knows? It's true that the Switch is expensive, but also maybe in the next 3 years, maybe the price will go down, maybe it'll be more interactive, and I have to imagine that they're going to encourage you bringing a portable console with you, because surely you're going to be able to interact with something else built into the park. You know how Universal also has the Harry Potter kind of areas, and you can get the wand that interacts with different stuff around.
So if they did
Harry
something
Potter
like that,
land,
that would be kind of boss.
Yeah, you could totally interact.
You know
with
what
stuff
the best
in
thing to do with that
and
would
Universal's done it already, so.
Yeah, but what would work here that just came out that would be perfect? Breath of the Wild. The little, whatchamacallit, the little plank thing that
With the tablets that he...
Yeah, just have the tablet go up to different points and then it reacts to it.
Yeah,
just like in the
download
game.
some information. Yeah, and it's totally meant to be a Switch.
Exactly.
Like a digital Switch. He's taking his Switch up and he's like putting his little tablet
and see,
on
if they're smart, you know, they build it in a big circle, and in the middle you see Calamity Ganon there.
Now, remember, too, the Switch has...
Sheikah Slate, yeah.
Yeah, the Sheikah Slate. The Switch has amiibo capabilities.
That too.
So the fact that it is able to read amiibo stuff, you just get amiibo stuff built into the park, and you shove your Switch up to it.
Well, yeah, park exclusive amiibos. They're gonna sell those.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
So yeah, the opportunities that they have to incorporate all of these different things into the park there's no shortage.
Yeah.
So they could very easily implement a lot of this. I do think it would be really cool if Calamity Ganon was just there in the middle of the park, and it's like, I'm gonna get you one of these days.
Yeah, but either way, it seems so much more, the pictures look so much more Mario-themed than it does anything else.
The pictures show Mario, Mario Kart, and Donkey Kong specifically. But I imagine...
Well, to be fair, Mario first debuted as Jumpman in Donkey Kong.
Yes.
So, yeah.
So, you know, if we're going old school with that, then fine, I get that. But as such, I would think they would be smart not to ignore one of their biggest IPs. So there's got to be something for that.
Yeah.
And especially with as well received as the game has been, I imagine, you know, people wouldn't mind waiting 4 years to use your 2DS, 3DS, or Switch as a Sheikah Slate.
Yeah. The Sheikah Slate being either a Wii U tablet or the Switch, really it's negligible because they're both about the same size. So
or if Nintendo gets into more mobile things, use your phone.
Yeah, and they've been trying to pursue mobile stuff. What with Super Mario Run, for example.
Right.
I don't know how well Super Mario Run has done. I would need to do a little more research on that, but I don't know if they're going to continue to pursue mobile stuff. I really don't know. Granted, Pokemon Go was such a big deal. I don't know if they would try to continue to say, hey, now we've got this Nintendo World up and going in Universal, and there's Pokemon that you can only get in Pokemon Go here in the park, or there's just such a high concentration of it there in the park of this particular Pokemon.
That would be smart.
That would be smart if Pokemon Go really lasts another 3 years.
It's been a year this week.
This week, that's very true. And it has diminished greatly.
Yes.
Greatly. So we'll see. I think this is exciting. It sure seems like Shigeru Miyamoto was excited in that video.
Yes.
So here's hoping it
when
launches.
He's excited, I'm excited.
Yeah, but he seems like he's always happy, too. It looks like it's going to be fun for Osaka. I hope it does make it to the 2 North American parks very, very quickly thereafter. That would be amazing. Yes,
so let's go ahead and move on to our final story of the evening. Which is, we are getting word this week that Cowboy Bebop is being developed for a live-action television series.
Very interesting. So, I think people have really wanted a live-action Cowboy Bebop for a long time, but what everybody was always clamoring for was a film.
Yes.
And they specifically wanted it kind of a long time ago with certain people cast in certain roles, and like that's clearly not going to happen.
Yeah, because at this point, like, how many people have you talked to that would bring up Cowboy Bebop and they all say the same thing? Man, it was for Keanu Reeves. He was totally supposed to be Spike. Now, I argue that if you want to see Keanu Reeves audition to be Spike Spiegel, go watch John Wick.
That's true.
Because if you look at the arc of John Wick, that's Ballad of the Fallen Angels. Straight up. Just go watch that after watching Ballad of the Fallen Angels there in Cowboy Bebop and tell me that they didn't pull from that.
Yeah,
But that having been said, like, it's kind of one of those things like Chronicle. Like, you know you were never going to get the Akira movie you wanted, so you got the next closest thing.
Right.
Like, kind of the same way I feel about John Wick. We were never really going to get a Cowboy Bebop movie, and this is as close as we were going to get. But now, since they're looking to develop this into a live-action series, I'm wondering about what exactly are we gonna get.
So this is coming out of Tomorrow Studios. I don't know a whole lot about Tomorrow Studios. I looked them up relatively recently, and it looked like they only had so much they got under. There's Snowpiercer coming out next year.
For TNT, yes.
Good Behavior. I don't know anything about Good Behavior. Let the Right One In. This year?
That's going to be an adaptation of the movie, which was an adaptation.
Yeah, well, I saw the original film, Let the Right One In.
No, Let Me In.
No,
The original's Let Me In.
Yeah, I did see Let Me In.
And then we adapted it into Let the Right One In.
So they're adapting the adaptation.
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense. So this is stuff that it doesn't look like Let the Right One In is out yet, is it?
No, they're working on it.
So I'm just not so sure. Aquarius, I don't know anything about what Aquarius is, and that's about it. That's about all they've done. So
as far as the writing goes, writer Chris Yost who has worked on both Thor Ragnarok, which is coming out, and Thor: The Dark World, and has worked on several different comic book adaptation cartoons like Wolverine and the X-Men, Iron Man Armored Adventures, and my favorite, Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes, will be writing for this. Now, from what we're told, Sunrise does have some involvement in producing for the series, but all things considered, you can tell me that you're coming out with a live-action Cowboy Bebop, but I think at this point, because so much time has gone on since 1990, what was it, 97, 98?
It was 98. It ended in 99.
Since that has come out, we're going on 20 years now that Cowboy Bebop's been out in the ether. By most accounts, arguably one of the anime you need to watch. Even if you don't even like anime, you watch Cowboy Bebop. Because there's something...
It's definitely important, even if you don't like it, if you don't know anything about it, that it's important that you see it to understand historically this is where anime was at that given point in time.
Because for many people, for many fans of just animation in general, but for anime fans specifically, it's a benchmark.
Yeah.
And like there was everything before it, and then everything that came after it. Just like Evangelion, you know, there's a clear-cut point. You know, there was anime, and then this came out.
Yes.
Cowboy Bebop is absolutely one of those 26 beautifully done episodes. You know, music, timeless music, I would argue, by Yoko Kanno and the Seatbelts. The story there, you know, it's very episodic. You know. Most of the episodes don't really come together to make the most cohesive story, although most of the time you are following Spike there, and the crew of the Bebop, you know, Jet, Faye, Ed, Ein, and all of them in their different bounty hunting missions, but each episode felt so different, not like Space Dandy different, even though it's the same people who worked on it, but it's just the fact that it felt so... The world there of Cowboy Bebop felt so real and lived in. Even for an anime, that was something that you can say was definitely an accomplishment. So, having such a rich history to pull back on, just 26 episodes in one movie, how are you going to live up to that in a series without it overstaying its welcome?
It has to be so visually striking, regardless of being live action. It has to have such musical pop to it. And then the characters have to be well-written characters. I don't especially care who's doing the acting. They just have to be right for the role. They have to do a good job.
By this point, again, going on 20 years, I've seen my share of Cowboy Bebop cosplay. All the characters. I've seen some really good Ein cosplays. I think they were dogs.
You think they were actual corgis?
I'm pretty sure they were actual corgis.
Yeah.
But that having been said, you can look the part, but do you become the character? That's always the argument that you have for any sort of adaptation, whether it be comic book or anime. And up to this point, yeah, we still got that stigma that we still haven't hit the good anime adaptation movie yet, and now you want to bank on a TV show.
Well, yeah, because have we ever tried to do a live-action anime TV show in the West before?
No.
So I'm terrified, because we haven't even gotten the one anime movie that everybody can say this was the good one.
Yeah.
The closest we've gotten, I dare argue, is going to be either Ghost in the Shell, or people will really fight me over saying Speed Racer. Even though
I won't. Speed Racer was amazing.
Because I really strongly... People will say that's such a dumb movie. And I'm like, okay, did you see Speed Racer?
Did you watch Mahagogo?
Like, because Speed Racer is a friggin' cartoon, okay? I don't care that it's Japanese. It's Japanese cartoon, and I know you'll get up in my face and be like, it's not a cartoon, it's anime! Guys, please. It is such a cartoon, and so was that movie.
Okay, Edge of Tomorrow, that's an adapted manga, not
novel, that then became a manga, and then became Edge of Tomorrow, and I don't think it ever was an anime.
No,
I don't think it ever
was.
got animated.
No. So, yeah, and that's the thing, you had to sneak that one by. Because you changed it so much that people wouldn't recognize it. You know, originally when they were adapting the movie over here, it did have the same title, All You Need Is Kill, but then they repackaged it as Edge of Tomorrow, and nowadays nobody calls it that, they call it Live, Die, Repeat, which is what they probably should have called it in the first place. Point being, yeah, there's no benchmark here, and as such, because of the stigma of the movies, and yes, I agree with you that Speed Racer and Ghost in the Shell are as close as we've gotten thus far.
And they're not perfect, mind you.
Right.
They're not.
They're not perfect either. That having been said, you guys are reaching for the stars here, because, like, if you had tried doing it with a lesser known, less popular, less revered anime that you were trying to adapt over here, then maybe we'd give you some more headway. But this is Cowboy Bebop we're talking about. It's something that means... I remember exactly where I was midnight, Cartoon Network, when Adult Swim first aired the first episode, and my brother and I weren't supposed to stay up, and we stayed up, and we kept the volume real down. We had our heads ducked under our pillows, and we watched it, and we were amazed at what it was, because we didn't know. We were just getting into what they had on TV, you know, Dragon Ball and you know, old reruns of Sailor Moon and Voltron. This blew our minds because we didn't know it could look like that. We didn't know it could be like that. We didn't realize it could be as adult as it was while still being entertaining, and realize, man, this is animated, but this takes me to another place with what I know animation can do.
So my question is, because so often in adaptations, we do not try to recreate visually what we saw on screen in the anime that the movie is trying to adapt.
Arguably both Ghost in the Shell and Speed Racer did that.
Yeah, again, they're the ones that got the closest, and they're not perfect yet, and we're still waiting for the perfect one.
Yeah.
But visually speaking, they got really close. My super concern here is that Spike's hardly going to look like Spike, Faye's hardly going to look like Faye, etc., etc. So are we going to get something that both looks and feels like Cowboy Bebop? Because so often in film adaptations, you maybe only get one or the other.
Yes.
In fact, sometimes you're lucky if you get one of them at all, rather than them going, we need to reimagine what this looks
see, that's...
like.
Thankfully, nobody said that yet. Now, I hear people talking about... besides, I already got a live-action Cowboy Bebop. No. See, realize Firefly ripped off several different anime. Joss wasn't being slick.
It wasn't even all anime. In fact, there was one scene out of Firefly that looked to me like it came from, man,
Outlaw Star.
Well, Outlaw Star for sure. But you're right. I mean, it wasn't all anime. Stuff was like games and other TV shows.
Because
and movies.
part of it too is the fact that you can't just say, oh, we're just redoing Firefly but with jazz music. No, that's not Cowboy Bebop. If that's what you think it is, then you miss the boat. Yeah. You miss the giant fishing vessel that was turned into a spaceship for bounty hunters. Like, there's a look and a feel to it. There's a grittiness to it. There's a realism to it because of the fact that, yeah, it takes place in what is now the past to us. You know, it's always weird when that happens. But as such, it was technology that didn't feel that far off. Right. You know, it was... They still use guns. You know, with normal bullets. There's, like, one laser in the whole thing. Yeah. Otherwise, it feels realistic. It feels like something you could walk out in the street and be like... You see them running by, and it's like, yeah, that could happen. That was the thing I loved about it. And as such, the iconography of, you know, Spike being there, you know, a student of Jeet Kune Do, you know, clearly saying that he took that on as his fighting style. You know, Jet having that hard line, no, I'm the cop. I'm going to sink my teeth into a guy, and I'm not going to let go until I get him brought to justice and get my bounty. Faye, you know, tragic past, but she doesn't talk about it because she likes swindling guys out of their money. Ed, I imagine that they would want to play up kind of the fluidity of what Ed represents more so now in an adaptation. Yeah. All stuff that they can do, but they can miss the mark so easily, which is why I'm scared.
Yeah, exactly. So that having been said, we'll keep an eye out on this, see if we get any other information. We need something else, because right now we're speculating so hard on what this could possibly end up being, and I don't want to do that. I just want to know. I just want to know where this is going. We will certainly bring it back up again in the future.
Yeah, as soon as we see anything, you will hear about it here on Beyond the Black Rims.
And we're done here.
Yeah, we're done here.
So, thank you, as always, for hanging out with us on another episode. If you are here live with us right now, please stick around for another half an hour so that we can do more Q&A time with you guys. If you're not here with us live, if you're watching on YouTube somewhere later on down the road, thank you for watching. I do wish that you could make it down here to hang out with us at 9 p.m. Central on Thursday nights, so that you can be with us live, you can be with these guys live, and you can spend time with us during the Q&A, which you'll otherwise never get a chance to see.
Yes, and of course during the week you can always talk to us over on social media. I'm at Josh Knight First.
And I'm at Mars Girl.
That having been said, that's been tonight's episode of Beyond the Black Rims. We'll see you guys again next week.
Thank you. Stay here.